Hello. I actually recorded this a couple days ago, but because of I'm not as tech savvy as I would like to be, uh, anyway, I'm doing it again because it's not there. And my message today is about what is happening in this country and the similarities as to what happened when Trump took over in Germany. You'll remember Hitler had the Jews, and I've got a sheet here. This was in a children's book. This is what the kind of propaganda that Hitler used to show his bigotry and racism against the Jewish people. Okay. Now, Trump has the immigrants, aided and abetted by a large part of our population's bigotry, stupidity, and lack of knowledge. So he's playing on that, just like Hitler did with the Jews, and we saw how that worked out. Also, in his cozying up to the dictators and saying that he wants to invade Greenland. Well, Greenland has a major military facility to assist NATO in protecting Europe from foreign aggression, like Ukraine and Poland next in Putin's sights. That's why Trump wants Greenland. He can stop that, take the NATO military facility out of there, and open things up for Putin to keep on invading little countries. And you've got to remember, Putin invaded Georgia, I think it was, in 2004, and then Crimea and parts of Ukraine later. And now, of course, we know he's trying to invade Ukraine. So how is this different than Hitler? Hey, babies, it isn't. And if you're paying attention, if you know anything about history, which I would encourage, read The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. I have. And this is not different. And it can happen here, just like it happened there. With the aid and abetting of the bigots and the people who choose to be ignorant of what's going on. You have a computer, you have a search line, you go in on your search line and put in reputable fact check sites and then use them. Also, Panama. Panama has sanctions against Russian vessels traveling through the Panama Canal. And of course, Putin wants those lifted. The reason for the sanctions are because we have put sanctions on Putin for invading Ukraine. And now our president is saying he's going to invade 3 countries. Go figure. Putin wants those lifted because he wants to put his oil through the Panama Canal, which would, of course, would make him more money so that he could go in and use it to keep working on Ukraine. Canada has the territorial rights in the Arctic for oil and gas reserves and the maritime routes. Putin wants those rights demolished. So who is Trump working for? Not the U.S. when he treats American allies like adversaries in furthering Putin's interests. And yep, folks, here it is. And I fact checked it all. It's all true. Also, let's stay on the topic of us invading all of these countries. I have 2 draft age grandchildren. And I'm sure there are many of you out there that have draft age children, grandchildren, or whatever. Are you willing for that to be the hill they die on? Really? I am so saddened by what's going on and the abject bigotry of the people who made it possible. I mean, he's talking about deporting families. He had the separation policy, which incidentally, apparently, they've made a movie of. So, all you people that watch that Mule thing, Mule 2020, which turns out that the guy's even now admitting he had lied, imagine that. Um, I would encourage you to watch that. And that ranks right up there with the Trail of Tears in our history. And it's pretty ugly. And no, it was not a law, it was a policy of Trump's administration. Again, don't take my word for it. Get used to using your search line and look it up. I am so dismayed that people who say that they're Christians, and I mean, there's two of them in our community right here in just our little cul-de-sac. Oh, we're Christians, but it's okay if you take the children away from their parents, these traumatized children that have just walked 2,000 miles. And there's still 1,000 of them that they have not been able to reunite with their parents. 1,000 children. Now, whether you want to call it this or not, babes, this is child abuse with the sanction of at least two Christians in my own neighborhood. What hypocrisy. Oh, and those same two also say they're pro-life. That's not pro-life. And it's hypocrisy at its best. And there's so much hypocrisy in the mega world and the Republican world. There are so many things that if any other president had done it, you would be marching on Washington. But you're going, oh, no, it's okay. It was Trump. Oh, and let's go back to some more lies. The lies about the water supply in California and the declaration that supposedly Gavin had. No such declaration. That was a lie. Imagine that. Trump lies. And again, use your search line. Don't take my word for it. Use your search line. No such declaration. They did protect this one area, but it has nothing to do with that's in Northern California, has nothing to do with Southern California or the fires. Look it up. Use your search line. Okay, now let's go back to some other lies. You know, the big one at the debate where in Springfield, Ohio, the immigrants were eating pets? Well, first of all, they were not illegal immigrants. They were invited there, so they were legal. And number two, there's no records of any that happening. This is not happening. That was a lie. And as a result of that lie, the next day, they had to go into Springfield, Ohio with the National Guard because there were threats against schools. These are children. Now, I know you guys are also gung-ho with your, I gotta have my AR-15 or my AR rifle, that it's okay if we sacrifice kids to that. But I'm not among those. I don't think there's a kid alive that would willingly give up his life so you can own that rifle, which you have absolutely no use for except for target shooting. They're too powerful to hunt with. And no, they don't take a 22 bullet. I had that one happen too. And when I gave the gal the real information, the research, the facts, she was really angry. And that seems to be a common denominator with megas. I know one woman attacked me for saying hateful things. And so we went back and forth for a couple of days. I don't even know who she was, but she called me all kinds of names. And I never said anything derogatory to her. All I did was present her with facts. And again, saying, do not believe anything I say without fact checking. You are free to fact check everything I say, and then we'll go from there. And instead of coming back with, oh, yeah, I fact checked that and whatever, 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 she just came back with, you're a hateful, nasty, horrible person. And I found that to be true, that when you smack a mega with facts and research and information, they never deal with the information. They just come back with a personal insult, which, of course, I could care less. I'd have to respect you to care what you think of me. But anyway, after a couple of days of this, I finally said, all I've done is present you with facts, which you are free to check. And all you've done is insult me. Now, I want to ask you, who's the hateful, nasty person spreading hate here? All I'm doing is spreading facts. And I know facts are the bane of Republicans and megas in particular, but they're there. And if you bother, anyone who ever had to write a paper for school where you had to have sources, you have to be able to back up what you say. And you can't. Not because you're dealing with propaganda from Fox, Onan, and Newsmax, and you never research, you never check it. And apparently you're not even thinking, because when a Christian says it's okay to separate families, children from their families, that's child abuse. That's okay with you? You're a Christian and that's okay with you? Man, you sure missed something about Jesus' teachings. And there's 14 verses in your holy book saying that you are supposed to help, house, feed, and shelter immigrants. 14 verses. But no, you'd rather be all upset about a beer can, when you should have been paying attention to the fact that they're banning books and they're telling teachers and professors what they may say and what they may teach. That's important, guys. The beer can wasn't. The beer can is non-consequential. And most people who like Bud Light continue to drink it anyway. I know there were some, but you can't fix stupid. So I'm hoping that as this goes on, we don't lose our children while they play tin soldiers to them like Bush did, or with them. I hope that doesn't happen. But I will tell you this. If Trump invades Greenland, Panama Canal, and Canada, and he lifts all the sanctions from Putin so that Putin can continue to invade different countries around him, remember Hitler. What you're going to have is two fascist governments. And if they get together, rule the world. And yes, that could happen. I've had so many people say, no, it can't happen here. Yeah, it can. It's happening here. We already have all these stupid bigots that voted Trump into office, so-called evangelicals, so-called Christians, when they're just hypocrites to the nth degree. It could happen. And if it does, you're accountable. I know somebody, when Trump was in the last time, and the man had traveled to Buffalo to go into a black supermarket and just start shooting people. I know a Trump voter that, oh my God, how awful. And I said, I'm sorry, you've lost the right to object to this. You elected a racist president. And for all of you who say he's not racist, put Trump's racism in your search line. You'll pull up 4 pages of it or more. And of course, there were all kinds of incidences of people saying one person yelled at a black man across the street with the N word, and he said, I can say that now because Trump's president. Racism went up, and I'm not going to give you the percentage. I did know it before, but I don't know it right this minute. But again, you can check this, put it in your search line, went up by a huge percent after Trump took office. A huge percent. So, think, people, think. What you are doing, what you voted for. I mean, you voted for a man who says his daughter's a good piece of ass on the radio. Again, it's on YouTube. You can look it up. You voted for a man that says on the Wendy Williams show, she asked, what do you and Ivanka have in common? And he said, well, I would say sex, but she's my daughter. Is that your value system, you good Christians? Is that your value system? Because I find that really hypocritical. You voted for a man who makes fun of the disabled. You voted for a man who reenacted Felicio with a microphone in his last campaign. That's who you're voting for. Is that, honestly, is that your value system? And then you call yourselves Christians? I'm sorry, but man, that does not compute. And I've got way too, and I don't think I can. So, or at least if I can, I'm not sure how. Let's see if edit will do anything. Nope. Okay, we'll go back to it. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up. But for all of you who put this in motion, millions of people are going to suffer because of it. Millions. My grandmother was an immigrant from Canada, and she never became a citizen. And not one person in this entire country ever went without eating, went without shelter, or had anything detrimental happen in their lives as a result of her being here. And she had 7 kids. And my grandfather fought in World War I on the side of the United States. Now, if that were today and Trump decided to deport my grandmother, and she's got 7 kids who all have lives here and kids here, and who are natural born citizens, so they are American, which he's also trying to do away with. Although I haven't quite figured out what that's going to do for all of his kids, because they were all born to an immigrant. Whatever. How fair would that have been to have deported one little old lady because she wasn't a citizen but had been here from the age of 17 on, whose husband had fought? I mean, we have deported people who have fought in our wars. So for all of you wonderful people who are so against racial discrimination, and yet you hate woke, which is being aware of racial discrimination. But of course, you don't want to do that. Um, Again, your hypocrisy is just astounding. Your lack of humanity is astounding. Your hypocrisy is astounding. Think, research, fact check. Stop this before millions of people are killed. You know how many people died in World War II because of one man, Hitler, and the idiots that supported him? So, I am going to end this video. I will be coming back with some that aren't quite so contentious because there are things that I want to talk about with children where I see people being just absolutely insane with some of their choices they make as to how they talk to their children and how they do with their children. But we'll talk about that another time. I'm going to end this video today. And I will say this, regardless of what stance you are, I wish you no ill will. I just want you to start thinking and fact checking and researching. So have a blessed day and take care. And I will be back with some more things, either political or child, about children. And we'll go from there. So take care.